Syria's interior ministry says that 5 people have been arrested for their connection to Saturday's shooting that killed 2 different Iowa National Guard members and a civilian interpreter. The Interior Ministry has also described the gunman as a member of the Syrian security force who is suspected of sympathizing with the Islamic State terrorist group. Now, while details are certainly still emerging, but what's come out so far has raised a lot of questions about the extent of violent extremist ideology among the Syrian interim government's armed forces. And Saturday's shooting also reminds us of the security threat that the Islamic State continues to pose. And joining me now to go deeper into all of this is once again FRC's president, Tony Perkins, and our own Travis Weber as well. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining me once again for this. We got a lot that's happening and going on here around the world, particularly with Syria. So, Tony, let me kick it off with you and let you get us started. How would you address this?
First off, this is not unlike some of the things we saw in Afghanistan, where we see this radicalization that is within the ranks of those that we're trying to work with, that we want to normalize relationships with. I think we have to understand that the very foundation of the Islamic world, it's going to raise questions. We have to approach it very, very carefully. And I would also say this is why members of Congress were raising questions about lifting the sanctions on Syria. The administration wanting to lift those sanctions. This was a big debate in the recently passed Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, because removing the Caesar Act, which would remove these sanctions, really removes a lot of the economic leverage that we have over Syria. Their point, my point, I agree with them, is that, all right, let's see action first. Let's see the Syrian president. Let's see the Syrian forces begin to protect the minorities, the Druze, the Christians that are being killed in Sweda in the southern part of Syria. And I think this is more evidence that we have some serious problems there.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, I know, Travis, you keep up with so much that's happening internationally on this. So look, as Tony was just sharing, terrorism is becoming more and more of a problem, and the ties with Syria in all of this is an issue that has to be addressed. So there's a lot of work to do.
There is, and I think, Jody, as we reflect on what's happening here, we cannot escape the importance of looking underneath at a society's foundation and core, and its people and its culture, in terms of understanding where it is and where it will go. We cannot avoid that. We can't escape it. And for decades, the over-secularization of the West has inhibited our ability to diagnose and understand issues of religion overseas, whether Islamic radicalism, religious freedom for all people. And now in this case in Syria, I understand President Trump wants to move into a new era with the new president of Syria. He's coming to the U.S. He wants to move ahead. We have a reality, though. That reality is the history and foundations of Syria and of the people and the ideologies at play there. The Syrians are diverse. They're not all the same makeup. But we can't avoid addressing things like what's leading this person to kill U.S. service members.
Well, and you also have the history of the president there in Syria, right, who was a terrorist.
Right.
And so how aggressively will he pursue those elements within his own ranks? And this is, we were talking about this earlier today, very similar to the situation we see in Nigeria. The Nigerian government is not persecuting Christians. They're just not stopping it.
Right.
They're allowing it. They're allowing the Muslim, the Fuluanis. They're allowing Boko Haram to operate with almost impunity. And so it's the issue of how aggressive is the Syrian government. And I understand they're fractured. I understand that the infrastructure there is poor. But this is going to be a good case study to see how aggressive they are.
I think we need to see concrete plans and evidence of progress on human rights and religious freedom. Right. Tony, we know the history of the Northeast government, Kurdish-led area in the Northeast that was at war with Assad. That area helped the United States defeat ISIS, and they're currently still holding many ISIS prisoners, fighters, and their families that are still in jails controlled by the forces in this Kurdish area of northeast Syria, which under the new regime, the new plan being brokered, in theory, they're supposed to unify certain aspects of that with the central government. But with the central government's ties to jihadism, historically, what do we think is going to come? We need to approach that very clear-eyed.
And their attachment to Turkey.
Right.
Because Erdogan has targeted the northeast portion of Syria because he does not like the free council there and the work that has been done to really create probably the strongest place outside of Israel for religious freedom in the Middle East.
Yeah. And Tony, I think this, we reflect on the Middle East, who is seeking to promote and advance freedom, Israel, in a sea of nations which are different stages of, or different levels of their engagement with this concept. Some are just very, very hostile, and sometimes it's the culture more so than the government. But we cannot escape the fact that Islam is prevalent in all of these nations. And I think for us in the U.S., this is important to bring to light because we cannot avoid. A society is not just a matter of some deals, some things on paper, which are important to move us ahead, but we can't stop there. We have to go further to dig deep to the foundations and say, what makes a true just society?
Yeah. Well, there's so many obstacles from every perspective with the new government coming in and all these other things. I mean, the people of Syria obviously are not out of the woods themselves with all this, but neither are Christians with this. So what are you hearing in relation to the Christians in Syria?
Yeah. So I think, Jody, this is interesting because it's such a diverse group. You have traditional Orthodox believers who have their own kind of, even within Eastern Orthodoxy, different churches within Eastern Orthodoxy who've been there for many, many years, right, and had a certain status under Assad that was, maybe tolerated or left alone, that, jihadists are not going to take the same approach to them. On the other hand, you have this Kurdish-run area in the northeast, which featured or had some of those older churches, but you had Muslim background converts, more evangelicals, and you have other denominations in between. And this is not even dealing with the other minorities in Syria. So you have a big spectrum of minority communities. There are differences of view and opinion among those communities based on their own experiences and based on what they think is going to achieve freedom and religious freedom for them. So I think we have to listen to them, but we need to advocate for religious freedom for all of them in the best way we can.
Fascinating discussion, gentlemen. I want to thank you for joining us for this.